The Elm Tree. Once upon a time, in a forest, there lived a lonely elm tree. While all the other trees were growing and branching out, this poor elm tree was drying internally. Neither would any bird sing on its branches, nor any sunlight shine on its leaves. It used to stand very unhappily in the middle of the huge trees. One day, something happened. A bird came and landed on one of its branches. The elm tree was so happy that it did not know how to react. The bird, on the other hand, was a very considerate bird. Actually, the bird could not give any meaning why the bird was so happy, but it did not need to ask the reason. The elm tree was very shy and started to speak very distressfully. "Oh, you beautiful bird! I do not remember that I have been so happy in my whole life. In this very green forest, among all these trees, you cannot imagine how lonely I feel. Neither would any bird sit on my branches, nor any sunlight touch my leaves. Clouds leave all their rain on the forest, but not a single drop would fall onto my earth. My shadow is tiny. I bear no fruits. Who would come and rest under my shadow? Which bird would like to land on my fruitless branches? You're the first to thank you, little bird, it said happily. My branches have been longing for bird songs for so many years. Now every branch of mine is twittering thank you to you all. The good-hearted bird whispered something to its friends, and then all of them started to sing all together. Their sounds were so touching that their song kindled a strong, sad feeling. In reality, this was a competition. Nobody knows how long the birds sang and chirped and flapped their wings. But one day, before sunrise, everybody saw a surprising scene. Do you wonder what the surprise was? The branches of the dry elm tree were hanging down from the heavy weight of its fruits. The tree became so happy to see this that it was nearly going to burst. All the birds invited by the good-hearted bird started to feast on these beautiful fruits. The elm tree stood up in dignity and gazed at the other trees around. It was really pleased when it realized that it was hosting as many birds as the other trees. "Thank you, oh you blessed bird," it said gratefully. "You cannot guess how happy I am." The good-hearted bird smiled. "You don't need to thank me. Show your gratitude to Allah. I am only a means to make you happy. If it were not me, it would be somebody else to make you happy. The important thing is to appreciate the value of the gift and never forget who bestowed it." "Would I ever forget?" said the elm tree. It said this and thought about what it had said for a long time. It looked at the other trees and saw trees much bigger than itself. and the fruits that they were bearing were much more that of the poor elm tree. Days elapsed. The happiness of the elm tree began to fade. The sunlight shining on its leaves and the twittering birds were not a source of happiness anymore. Its desires destroyed its limits, and it started to long for trees very far away. One day, "My dear bird," it said to the good-hearted bird, "please do not misunderstand me, but I want to bear more and more fruits." The good-hearted bird looked at the elm tree very meaningfully, but did not say anything. It gathered all its friends and said something to them. The birds again took to their wings and started to chirp and sing in a sad manner. Nobody knows how long they sang and how long they chirped, but one thing was sure, that the fruits on the elm tree increased so much that its branches were nearly breaking. Of course, the elm tree was really happy about this. "Thank you very much, my dear bird," it said cheerfully. "Look, this is really good. My fruits are so abundant that I have nearly as much fruit as the big trees have." After a long time, our elm tree again started to be sad. "Why am I not the biggest tree in this forest? Why don't I have more fruit than any tree in the forest?" it thought sadly. One day, it again suppressed its embarrassment and timidly told its feelings to the good-hearted bird. The bird became sad, but did not show anything. Again, it gathered all its friends and told them something. They all again flapped their wings and took to wing, and the branches of the elm tree were loaded with many, many fruit. The branches of other trees were hosting many birds with different colours and different shapes. The elm tree thought it was boring to hear the same birds' voices and to see the same birds landing on its branches every day. And it again expressed its feelings to the good-hearted bird. "If you will not misunderstand me, I would like to tell you something, my dear bird," it said. "The birds landing on my branches are all of the same type, but those landing on other trees are all from different species. Their songs are different, their colours are different. I also want some other types of birds to land on my branches." The good-hearted bird became angry this time. "No, this is impossible," it objected. "You don't know these birds. Their colours may look attractive from a distance, but many of them smell bad, and their voices are not as good as you might think. Also, they do not get on well together. What is more, they would ruin your leaves." The elm tree shrugged its leaves in a spoiled way. "What of it? I want it! I want it!" insisted the elm tree. The good-hearted bird shook its head from side to side in objection. "Sorry," it said. "I may be a cause for good things, but you cannot use me for such silly desires." The elm tree could not say anything, but it was deeply offended. It started to reduce its leaves and fruits. It started to behave more and more bitterly to the birds of the good-hearted bird. One day, the tree leaned down onto the lake nearby and watched itself. It did not like its appearance at all. Then it gazed at the other trees. It saw that the other trees were filled with so many colourful birds sitting on their branches. Their fruits were also very different. While the elm tree was thinking to itself, a crow came and landed on one of its branches. "Hello, O noble elm tree," it praised. "How beautiful your branches are! How abundant your fruits are! But those birds on your branches are very bad creatures. Whatever these fruits would be, there would be many nightingales and canaries would sing. What a pity! Why don't you get rid of them? If they would not come here, many other beautiful birds would come and land on your branches." The elm tree thought for a while. It thought the crow was right, but it still acted carefully. In a way, questions itself. "Well," it said thoughtfully, "before these birds came on me, I did not have any fruits. I was a bone-dry tree. How can I now tell them to go?" The crow cawed and laughed. "You're right," it said. "You can't say that, but I can find somebody who can shove them off. For example, I can tell them to go, and then I can bring many different types of birds to your branches." The elm tree was really happy to hear this. "Would you really be able to do that?" it asked hopefully. "Why should I not?" replied the crow. "I do favours for many creatures. If you want, we can think of a favour for you as well." The elm tree was really pleased with this offer. "Okay then," it said. "You start now. I can't do that on my own. You bring many, many birds on me." "Sure, sure," cawed the crow. "That's my job. Don't worry. If you want, you can choose your birds. Tell me which colours and which sort of birds you would like." The poor elm tree smiled with great pleasure without knowing its end. It started to list the birds that it had seen on other trees from a distance. "Well, you know better than I do, my crow," it said. "Those birds on my branches cannot be seen properly because they are boringly brown. I would like yellow birds with pink wings." Just at that time, one bird from those on its branches started to sing a very sad song. "Dreams are pink, realities are brown. Nightingales sing one note, finches sing cheerful songs." The crow made a face at these words. The elm tree took no notice of what is said to it, and the crow flew away. After a short while, many, many birds came following the crow. They were so colourful and so many types. They all landed on the branches of the elm tree. The good-hearted bird and its friends were first amazed and then waited patiently. The newly came birds started to shout, yell, crow and sing at the top of their voices. Such a loud noise they were making that it could not be heard who was singing what. The friends of the good-hearted bird at first were surprised among all these chirpings and twitterings. Then they complained about it to the elm tree. "Well, if it will suit your desires, you stay," said the elm tree in a rude way. "You must get used to this. You must respect them too. What's wrong with them? Can't you see the other trees full of birds?" The good-hearted bird stared at the eyes of its friends, and they all kept quiet. Some time later, the newly came birds started to get bored and complained about the fruits of the elm tree. They wanted nicer fruits. The crow conveyed the demands of its friends to the elm tree. "Well, you say so, my crow, but these are all I have. I do not have any other fruits," said the elm tree sadly. The crow was annoyed. "Good Lord," said the crow, "these birds cannot feed on these fruits. They are special kinds of birds. They are very sensitive. If they feel any discomfort, they will leave you straight away. You have to put up with their whims. Every bounty has a price. You order some delicious fruits to come. Arrange the curves of your branches well. You cannot carry on living in the old style." The elm tree did not think for long. Besides, the crow and the birds that the crow had brought were not giving any chance for the elm tree to think. All those birds circled around the tree and started to flap their bright yellow and pink wings. They were singing a song at the same time. "Oh, the elm tree, beloved elm tree, do not make us to others needy. Let your dark branches filled with fruits, let the pink birds be your fans, let the yellow birds be your lovers." The elm tree was captivated by this song. Okay, it said. "I will do what you want. Don't worry." The elm tree called the good-hearted bird. The bird was offended, was hurt, and was tired, but it still welcomed the elm tree and, "What's the matter? What would you want?" it asked gently. The elm tree spoke short and certainly. "I need some different kinds of fruits. And also, tell those birds you have brought to act more respectfully to my new birds. I cannot stand for somebody to hurt them." The good-hearted bird gave the tree a meaningful glance. "Okay," it said. "I will tell my birds to behave better to your new birds, but the only fruits I can bring for you are these. I do not think any other fruit would be more delicious than these. However, if you want different kinds of fruits, do not demand them from me. I told you at the beginning. You find them somehow. I think whoever gave you this idea can find you the solution as well. And besides, you don't need us anymore." The elm tree was again irritated with this reply, but did not say anything. The elm tree spoke to the crow and ordered in a determined way. "All of my facilities are under your service. You go and somehow find whichever fruits you need and bring them and attach them to my branches." The crow grinned foxily. "All right," it said. "If you will cut some of your branches and give them to me, and if you will let me pick some of your leaves, I can take them to other trees, and in return get some of their fruits and bring them here." All right," said the elm tree. "You're allowed to do so. Oh, do not forget to ask the canary with yellow wings and the duck with purple eyes about fruits." The crow got the permission. Would it say any more? It gathered around itself all its henchmen and started to give commands to them. "You cut 3 branches from here. Pull those leaves off. Woodpecker, you make a deep hole here." They all started working. Although it was suffering from pain, the elm tree did not say anything. Some of the old birds were also helping the new birds, thinking that the elm tree would like this. They were doing even more than the new ones were doing. After a while, some new branches appeared in the places of the cut branches of the elm tree, but they were so bad-looking and so unharmonious with its trunk. On one branch, a few watermelons, which would nearly break its branch, and on another some strawberries. On one branch there were some dates, on another a few marrows. On one branch some bananas, and on another some beans. Oh my God! As if it's not a tree, but an odd creature, not even one branch matching the other. How about the birds on top of it? They were all eating the fruits scattered all over its branches and were breaking and chipping away its branches. All the other trees were watching those harmful birds that they had got rid of from their branches. Some of them were sorry, yet some of them were laughing at this scenery. At last, the elm tree couldn't bear it any longer. It leaned down into the stream and saw its appearance. As soon as it saw its own reflection on the water, it was horrified. "Only a handful of fruit and a very weak body are left for you, O elm tree," the good-hearted bird called from a branch on the top. "Maybe you're not aware, but you are finished. You're ruining yourself. Haven't you come to your senses yet?" Yes, the elm tree had come to its senses, but it was too late now. A heavy rain came and dropped all its remaining fruits, and a strong wind blew and broke all its unharmonious branches off. Old birds tried to cover its branches with their tiny bodies to protect it against the wind. Maybe they looked dull and brown, but their hearts were colourful like spring flowers. The new birds left the now fruitless elm tree one by one. In the first rain, their bright colours faded and their feathers were muddied. After a while, the elm tree became bone dry, just like before. Neither yellow and pink birds were landing on its branches, nor any sunlight was touching its leaves. It was very, very sorry for this, but the good-hearted bird could not say anything to its friends any more. But those brown birds were not angry with the elm tree. They were very sorry about the elm tree's situation. They say that the good-hearted bird is waiting patiently for the elm tree to come really to its senses. They will again take to wings and will pray deeply with their sincere songs. Who knows? If Alda wants and if the birds carry on playing, maybe things will change.